Hi, and welcome back to the Citizen channel. Hope you're all staying safe and well as we continue our look at the Benjamin Mendy Louis Saha Matturie trial up to day 43 on the 22nd of November 2022. Yes, please, if you are new to the channel, everything's City, past, present, forever, mainly football, but of course, this court case has interested many, lots and lots of views, of course, so all City things. Also, please, if you want to subscribe, it's what I call my Citizen channel after my old, defunct. It never happened, but one day I'll tell you about that. You might know a little bit yourself, the Citizen magazine. Obviously, this is the Citizen vlog, so please join us. It'd be great to have you on board. Press that subscribe button, press the bell notifications, and please, if you got a chance, just press that little button, that little like button, that little thumbs up button. Much appreciated. Just gives me a little warm glow. Makes an old City fan very, very happy. Yes, right, let's get back to this case. Day 43, as I said. Let's just summarise. Mr. Mendy is accused of 7 counts of rape against 4 women, 1 count of attempted rape and 1 count of sexual assault. The offences are alleged to have taken place at his Cheshire mansion between October 2018 and August 2021, relating to 7 women. Mr. Matturie's co-defendant from Eccles Salford is accused of 6 counts of rape and 3 counts of sexual assault relating to 7 women. Judge Stephen Everett resides at Chester Crown Court, and our thanks as ever, and my thanks as ever, to the Manchester Evening News Timeline and their court reporters, certainly up to the lunchtime break today, and he did all day yesterday, so yeah, he's doing a grand job. Seamus McDonnell. Right, 10:50 a.m. the jury continues to hear from Lisa Wilding, KC, Mr. Matturie's barrister, who is delivering her closing speech. Ms. Wilding now moves on to Woman 5, who alleges she was raped by Mr. Matturie in March of last year. Ms. Wilding claimed that Woman 5 is a prime example of the dangers of drink. I don't say that critically, she said. Listed throughout her evidence are clear examples where she simply has no recollection of events. What I'm going to suggest is you cannot be sure that the sexual activity that took place between Mr. Matturie and her was not done without her giving every indication that she was consenting. We, on behalf of Mr. Matturie, submit this is a case not that she did not consent, but that she simply cannot remember that she consented. Miss Wilding says Mr. Matturie attended a voluntary interview with the police regarding Woman 5's allegation after she made a report online. During the interview, he told police that he had had sex with Woman 5. Miss Wilding points out that Mr. Matturie was under no compulsion to attend the voluntary interview. If you had raped someone, why would you volunteer to give an account of it? Miss Wilding asks. Miss Wilding says of Woman 5, I suggest on the evidence of Woman 5, frankly, she herself could not be sure of what happened that night because there are chunks that she cannot remember. Miss Wilding now refers to the allegation of Woman 12, who alleges that she was sexually assaulted by Mr. Matturie in 2016. She says Woman 12 did not report her allegation until 5 years later, and that from around 2020 she was hanging out with him regularly at parties. Miss Wilding questioned whether that is consistent with someone who claims that she'd been sexually assaulted. Is that what you would do? She asked the jurors. Miss Wilding claims that Woman 12 is prepared to jump on the bandwagon. Jurors were told that Woman 12 said she felt more comfortable to come forward about her allegation after reading about the case in the media. Miss Wilding said the complainant has given an account of events so many years ago, we submit must make you question why now? Why speak about it now? It is obvious we suggest that she's been very much affected by what she's seen and read about others. Miss Wilding now moves on to the allegation of Woman 13, who claims she was raped by Mr. Matturie in 2012. The KC claims the allegation she made does not constitute rape. She was utterly unable to describe any detail. She simply says, I just knew it happened. Miss Wilding adds, I'm afraid she also was influenced by media reporting. She said there was a woeful lack of evidence in the case to make the jury sure. Miss Wilding says Mr. Matturie told police that he denied it was his role to organise for girls to be at parties. She says prosecutor Tim Cray, KC, accused Mr. Matturie of lying to police about this. Miss Wilding denied that he had lied. Speaking of women at the party, she said they were mad keen to be at those parties. The evidence is overwhelmingly clear about that. Miss Wilding told jurors this is not a court of morals. Miss Wilding says if it's Mr. Matturie's right not to give evidence, she says the prosecution bring this case and they must prove it. Don't be beguiled into thinking otherwise. In some way, he has to prove his innocence. The fact that he has not given evidence cannot in and of itself prove guilt, obviously. Miss Wiley said Mr. Matturie had spoken with police in several interviews lasting hours and hours and had told them things they didn't know. She said there was a tipping point when he refused to answer more questions from police. Miss Wiley asked jurors to put themselves in his shoes. She said, "You may think that anyone in his shoes would think there's no point. It doesn't stop lying girls making false allegations." Miss Wiley says, "I suggest that all of the complainants in this case have given evidence that is at its heart flawed." She claims that evidence is riddled with inconsistencies and flaws. She adds, "This started as a case about predatory rapists. This case has ended with a suggestion that the actions of these defendants has hurt the feelings of the girls. They didn't think about the consequences for the girls. They had sex with girls within minutes of meeting them. None of these things, either collectively, far less individually, makes either of these men a rapist." Miss Wiley claimed the age difference between Mr. Matturie and some of the complainants in the case is a red herring. These are not girls who do not know how to live or how to act or how to look after themselves. Miss Wilden recalls the start of the case when prosecutors used the word predator in the opening of the case. She said, "I have no doubt that you left the courtroom thinking these men are monsters." She adds, "This case has all the makings of a very good drama. It has money, sex, it has celebrity, but like all good dramas, there was, I suggest, before your eyes over the last 15 weeks, the most significant plot twist. What you have seen and heard in this illustrious panelled room should, I suggest, leave you cold with fear, because you have been witness to an extraordinary trial." She said it was not extraordinary because it featured a Premier League footballer. It is extraordinary because before your eyes you watched a woman come before you, swear an oath at this court to tell the truth, give compelling, emotive, heart-rending evidence that she had been raped by two men and she was lying. What is extraordinary is that we could prove it, not that the defendant has to prove anything. Imagine for a moment that plot twist had not happened. Imagine that recording did not exist. Imagine how different your assessment may be. Miss Wilding says prosecutors have asked the jury to put to one side woman seven's evidence and consider the other complainants. "I suggest you have the clearest example of how chillingly easy it is to make a false allegation by a girl who is at the heart of that complex spider's web of connections." Miss Wilding asked the jury to imagine they were in the public gallery watching their son, brother or friend on trial. What would you expect of the jury trying him as you sit in the public gallery watching? You would want them to be rigorous in their analysis and filtering of the evidence. At 1:24 p.m, she concluded her closing speech and the jury left the court for lunch. At 3:10 p.m, the jury are back in court for a short afternoon session, and the Judge Stephen Everett, the Honorary Recorder of Chester, is giving them further legal directions. One of the legal directions given to the jury regards Mr. Matturie not giving evidence. "You must decide whether or not Mr. Matturie's failure to give evidence should count against him," Judge Everett said. The jury are told they must decide whether the true reason he did not give evidence was because he didn't have an answer he believed would stand up to questions. But the judge said the jury should not convict Mr. Matturie wholly or mainly on this aspect if they decide to draw an inference against him. The judge is now beginning to sum up the evidence to the jury. He begins by reminding the jury to ignore certain issues raised by prosecution and defence in their closing speeches. "Ignore the comment about Jimmy Savile. It has nothing to do with this case," the judge said. "Ignore Ched Evans as well. He has got nothing to do with this case. The fact that he is a footballer has no relevance to this case." The judge is now referencing woman 7 who alleged she was raped by Mr. Mendy and Mr. Matturie. The jury is reminded the charges were abandoned after a video emerged which made it crystal clear that she had been consenting in sex with Mr. Matturie. The trial was then adjourned for the day. So please join me, and it will be resuming hopefully or presumably tomorrow, Wednesday the 23rd of November. So please join me then. Let me know your comments. Until we meet again, please stay safe, everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.